I always say, what do you mean by democracy? Will I participate? That's what they mean. So I say, did you vote for the Vietnam War? They said, no. Did you vote for the space program? No. Did you vote for the design of the Capitol? No. Where the hell do you participate? One thing that bothers me is when the President of the United States says, God bless America. Who the hell is he to tell God who to bless? Think about it. So these are the problems we face. So right now, I would prefer that you ask as naughty a question as you can think of about the Venus Project. See if you can find any contradictions or unworkable systems.
Thanks, Jacques. Next question.
I'm currently taking a course on the virtues of growing plants in soils, and also about how our current understanding of soil science is really lacking in many, many areas, and some specific ways that we can go improve the quality of our soils and the nutrient density of the soils, and thereby food and us. And hearing your hydroponics concept, I was just wondering what is the basis of that idea? Why hydroponics? And because that deeply concerns me, because I'm very much attached to the soil and the concepts I'm learning in this course.
I can quickly comment, I think maybe they would have something to say as well, that in my research on hydroponics and aeroponics is that the reduction of nutrient necessity and the reduction of water necessity is extremely substantial, as I pointed out. Because you can make processes that go straight to the roots as opposed to, say, just dumping water onto soil in a very basic sense. So from an efficiency standpoint, it's been known that it takes much less of those resources for one, and you can do something that you can't do with soil, at least in the sense of, in a much cleaner sense, is that you can stack these farms in vertical farming, which is a completely new idea. There's an individual at Columbia University that started this idea, very, very well known now. And first of all, arable land, as you probably know, is we're losing lots of topsoil. We have been for quite a while. You have to ask yourself the question, are we going to be able to reinvigorate the soil that we have to continue to feed the growing population, or do we have to go through another route? And I think from one, the standpoint of water preservation, nutrient preservation, the reduction of fertilizers, which are based on hydrocarbons, at least in the industrial application, and then the fact that we have to get away from using just flat single layer acres that go straight out and go vertical. That's how we're going to accomplish organically, by the way, organically feeding on an industrial scale the entire human population, in a regional approach, though, of course, which is why it's presented in the context of the city. So I'm fully in support of the aeroponic and hydroponic preservation, idea. Sorry, I've been awake for a very long period of time. Literally flew in a couple hours ago, so I ramble a little bit, just excuse me. But seems to me you might have an argument against it, which I'd love to hear, but we don't want to go into too much length on this. I think anyone who researches hydroponics and aeroponics and what I just pointed out, you'll find that it's very hard to argue with the basic foundation of efficiency, and we don't necessarily need soil if we can generate those nutrients from other sources, which is possible. Okay, we can follow up with him over there.
Just want to say, first of all, thanks for everything you've done.
Sure.
This is, I think, the best work yet, this
Thanks.
third one. I'm looking forward to the fourth. Get some rest first, though. The other thing I'd like to say is that in regards to, I don't think that the Venus Project or the Zeitgeist movement would be against something like the discovery that, hey, we really can replenish the soil. Because, I mean, somebody like Joel Salatin, nobody would think that that was like a problem if suddenly regular farming, not regular farming, but, you know, highly advanced farming. You talk about guys like Jerry Brunetti and guys like Joel Salatin and other people who've been doing some really clever things with farming most people haven't heard of unless you go to the NOFA conference, like, you know, next week, which will be there. The idea that if the Zeitgeist movement of the Venus Project heard about soil farming improvements, they'd use it.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's no, whatever is the most efficient and can be proven as such is what's applied, period. There's no bias towards anything. It's just what does the science dictate that is obviously calculatively the most efficient means to do it, from whatever angle that you come at it from. I really am fascinated by the hydroponics and aeroponics invention, conception, And I think still, maybe if you have any materials you could send me, I'd love to hear about these new advents you talk about, because I don't know if you guys know, I mean, obviously, many of you do, many of you don't, but every day it seems new technological advents are coming out now. It's just outrageous how fast things are progressing. So I don't pretend to know everything that's happening. I certainly am always open to new stuff. But Jacques, is there anything you'd like to say on the food cultivation issue in the future?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say there's no such thing as a scientist. If there were, they would not make weapons. They would not make nuclear bombs. They would not make bombers. They would not make machine guns. Technicians are trained in school to be either optical experts, chemists, structural engineers, but they're not given any background in the history of sociology or science or human behavior. So they're just the same kind of products normal people are. And normal, when I use the term normal, I mean fucked up. So I see a very different kind of future. I see people trained in school to understand how they relate to nature and to one another. I think that the language we use was designed hundreds of years ago, and it's not possible to communicate with people. Although you talk at people today, and they shake their heads, but it goes into their head and comes out in relation to their background. You don't really talk to people, you talk at people. The proof of it is, if you tell somebody you're going out on a vacation, they say, have a nice weekend. If they were really sane, they'd say, have a nice life. Why just a weekend? I don't understand. It seems so obvious that people are shaped by culture. That if you were brought up in Australia as a baby, you'd say, how are you, mate? Everybody would talk like that. Took a Japanese kid or Afro-American, raised him in Australia, how are you, mate? And if he's raised in Germany, he says, ach du lieber. If he's raised in France, la tour Eiffel, like a Frenchman. So when you say, I'm an individual, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Every word that you use, all your facial expressions come from movies, books, and culture. Don't you see that? If you took a nice white baby from the deep south and raised him by a black family,